do that. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I don't think your mic's on.
No, I can't read it.
Ladies and gentlemen, is that it? There we go. Thank you. Good evening. We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. Mrs. Giovanelli is out of town and Mrs. La Riviere is ill, but she's attending by phone. The school board meeting of May 22nd, 2018 is now called to order. The time is 6:02 p.m. At this time, we request that all electronic devices be turned off or be placed in the silent mode. We also ask that you please refrain from using flash photography except during the special presentations portion of the meeting. We would like to take the opportunity to remind members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student reaches his or her highest personal potential and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. Catlin Davis is this evening's student representative. She is a 7th grader at Oak Hammock Middle School. Welcome, Catlin. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, the Pledge of Allegiance, 2 recognitions, public comment, consent action items, which include 1 item under Executive Services, 7 items under Academic Services, 6 items under Business Services, 2 items under Human Resources, and 3 items under Operations, as well as 7 items under Superintendent Recommendations, and 4 items under Other Business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Patrica and seconded by Mr. Teuber. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, thank you, Pam. The motion carries 6-0. Ms. Fisher will deliver the invocation. And keep reminding me, Ms. Fisher will deliver the invocation, after which Dr. Kuckel will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise for the invocation.
Good evening. Please bow your heads. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together today. We ask your blessing on all here present. Please guide and direct this meeting so that it is full of wisdom and productivity. Inspire us as a governance team to work with responsibility, to develop strong relationships with our stakeholders, have respect for one another, and to make decisions which will benefit our school community. Let us listen to the voices of our students as we share ideas and plan for the future. We thank you for the gift of this past school year. It has been a time filled with grace and blessings, with challenges and opportunities, joys and sorrows. As we end this school year, we pray that you keep our students, staff, and their families safe, and give us rest so we can start again renewed and refreshed, healthy, and ready to learn and work. Amen.
Amen.
The cadet presenting the national colors tonight will be introduced by Colonel Rodney Scott Robinson from Fort Myers Senior High School's JROTC program. Colonel Robinson retired from the Army in March 2010 after 29 years of service. Colonel Robinson holds a master's degree in strategic studies from the United States Army War College and has been a Lee County JROTC instructor since July 2012.
Thank you, ma'am. The national colors for the Pledge of Allegiance tonight are presented by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Elizabeth Parra from Fort Myers Senior High School Junior ROTC program. Cadet Parra is an International Baccalaureate student, co-captain of the Green Wave Color Guard, a member of the Greenhouse Club and several honor societies, and is the new battalion commander of the Fort Myers High School Green Wave Battalion. Outside of school, Elizabeth volunteers as a reading buddy at the South Regional Public Library. Through work with her parents, veterinarian hospital, Ms. Parra developed a love for animal medicine and wants to become a veterinarian. She plans on applying to University of Florida for undergraduate studies and the University of California, Davis, for her doctor's degree. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Okay.
And now I would like to invite Mr. Marvin Getz, President of Lee County Association of Professional Guest Teachers, to please join me at the lectern. The School District of Lee County is proud to announce the 8th annual formal recognition of outstanding guest teachers. District teachers and school-based administrators were invited to nominate guest teachers that they recognized as having an outstanding commitment to students, quality instruction, and creativity in delivery of that instruction. These guest teachers have also built a positive rapport with students, staff, and administration, and demonstrate knowledge of school rules and guidelines even when responding to emergency situations. Through a collaborative effort of the Lee County Association of Professional Guest Teachers, district administrators and teachers, and a committee were created to review hundreds of nominations and choose an outstanding guest teacher from each level. The school board and superintendent are pleased to recognize the following guest teachers of the year. Elementary, Rose Fitzpatrick. Middle school, Mary Stead. She's gone back to Wisconsin. High school, Beth Wozniak. And special centers, Theodore Gruber.
Yeah. Well, these are the 4 finalists as Substitute of the Year. Mrs. Sneed couldn't be with us today, but I will take care of her award. You know, being a substitute is the toughest job in the world. You know, you get up with a phone call ringing, says, we need you. You don't know where you're going. You don't know what grade level. All you know is you're going to a school someplace. Now you have to look up and find out what school I'm going to, because we have so many schools. So all of that has to take. And then we have to add in what grade level. Is it pre-K? Is it, 3 and 5-year-olds? Is it high school? Or is it middle school? So being a sub is a tough job. You've never seen the kids. First time you lay eyes on them, you're supposed to work with them and keep them activated and in motion and get all the work done, and yet that's what we expect. So, to reward our subs this year, I've rewarded to each of our subs a pin saying that they are a substitute teacher. They received a pin. They also have already received, I gave it to them earlier, they all got a silver apple. So, we want to thank them for their hard work, their dedication, and we look forward to many more years of that. Okay, yeah, I'll pick this up later.
At this time, I would like to ask Dr. Douglas Santini, Fine Arts Director, to join me at the lectern. The Florida Junior Thespians All-State Festival for Drama Students was held February 8th through 10th, 2018 in Orlando. A large delegation of approximately 144 middle school thespians from 7 Lee County middle schools attended and earned all-state recognition and awards in various areas to include large group musical, small group musical, ensemble acting, duet musical, costume construction, one-act plays, publicity design, and more. As I call out the name of each school, would everyone from that school please come forward to have a group picture taken? First school is Colusa Middle. Okay, stand in front of the board and smile pretty. Yeah. Thank you and congratulations. Next, we have Challenger Middle School. Great, way to go, Challenger. Cypress Lake Middle School. Congratulations. Okay, come to the center and get your picture taken. Good job. Awesome. Great job, guys. And now Gulf Middle School, please.
They always go to the
Okay, that looks great. Awesome. Both middle. And now, Harns Marsh Middle School. Okay, congratulations. Okay, come front and center, front of the board. Great. And next up, we have North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. It's always a big crowd.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Wow, great job.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, now let's make 2 rows in front of the board so everyone's in the center for the picture. Come on in to the center. Okay, come on. Let's make tall people in the back, shorter people in the front, and make 2 rows in front of the board so everyone can get their faces in the picture. This is an awesome big crowd. Great job. And last but not least, we will have Paul Lawrence Dunbar Middle School. Great job, guys. Awesome.
Great net play, too.
Great job. Okay, and here comes Paul Lawrence Dunbar. Great job. Way to go. I love you.
Good to see you. Yeah.
And congratulations to all of our middle school thespians. Thank you.
This time we'll take a brief recess so that those who wish to leave may do so.
So then.
And then we were gonna because she lives in Sleepings, and my nephew, I had never met my nephew yet. I've seen him on FaceTime, but we might go pick him up for Monday.
Life happens.
So we might go pick him up and then
Bill of Rights.
his favorite thing
It's gone up. Nothing not covered by the
he's a year old.
Have you gone the school safety group? Oh. Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Martin, please address the agenda item of public comment.
School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a card and submitted that to me before the meeting began, you will be called in the order of the card submitted. If you did not submit a card but still wish to address the school board this evening, the school board chair, Ms. Morgan, will give you an opportunity in a moment to express that desire. The rules concerning public comment are posted at the back of the room. The board does not respond during public comment time to remarks made by speakers. At the conclusion of public comment time, the school board chair may address concerns raised by speakers or may assign responsibility to the superintendent to do so. Speakers are expected to act in a respectful manner. Those who fail to do so after being warned by the meeting chair may be required to leave the meeting. Disruptive attacks on individuals are prohibited. Ms. Morgan, I have 14 cards this evening.
Thank you. We offer the opportunity to those who may be unfamiliar with the public comment process to raise their hands and provide their names at this time. The blue card is a public record identifying those who wish to speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. If you did not complete a blue comment card after I've collected your name, please proceed to Mrs. Johnson on your left after completing your comments so that we can have a written record. Thank you. Is there anybody on the right side of the auditorium who did not fill out a blue card that wishes to address the board? Is there anybody on the left side of the auditorium? Is there anybody else? And Mr. Regal, I will ask you to fill out a blue card after you finish speaking. Thank you. Mr. Martin, would you call the first speaker, please?
Linda Carter.
Chris, there is no character word. Okay. I did. Oh. She made me panic.
to hand out is something that is very dear to each and every one of us, and to every employee and to every student in this district. As we know, at the Santa Fe High School, the shooting last week with 10 people. 2 of the teachers killed, if you look on page 2, that are highlighted in the following page, both of those teachers were substitute teachers that were killed. Usually, as substitute teachers, we're at will. We have no benefits. If we get killed in school, well, that's on us. We have no recourse except BenCor. We're not covered with anything else but BenCor because we're at-will employees. One of the things that we need to do, I'm usually in a walker or a wheelchair. Yes, teachers, substitutes here, we're not included in the planning in each school when they do drills. I go to a school for that day, they happen to pull a drill. I have no idea what where I'm supposed to go, what we're supposed to do, because we're not allowed to know that, because we're not there all the time. Doors are locked, and some schools they're not. Some have keys, some have pass cards. We're not included in the planning. If I have to go downstairs in my wheelchair, I have to take an elevator. I can't stay with my students. Now, if they are up on the second floor and we're securing and students are moving down at the other end, how am I supposed to get down? Because law enforcement has no idea I'm up there and where I'm at. We are supposed to close our doors, put our students in a room away from, and protect them. But it's kind of hard for me and other people with disabilities, or even if we have students that have access and functional needs, wheelchairs, to put them in an area to have them safe in those rooms, because there is no place except against the walls, back and forth, and away from the windows. Substitute guest teachers have got to be included in the safety planning for every school so that we know what the plan is if a shooter happens to come on campus. It's common sense, because if we get shot, if we get injured and in the hospital, you're not going to pay our bills because of the fact that we're not covered. We have to cover our own medical bills. And the thing is, you all need us. We have 1,600 substitute guest teachers. A lot of them decide not to teach or come in for fear of their life because they don't know if they're going to get shot or not.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Across the entire country.
Thank you, ma'am. Your time is up.
Okay. So what we want to do, I've talked to
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Your time is up.
that we put a presentation together and we'll present it to the board and have it put on your agenda for a future
Thank
day.
you.
But please consider this a life-threatening for each and every one of our students and our teachers. Thank you.
Marvin Getz.
Dr. Atkins, members of the board, Marv Getz for the president of the substitute teachers. The time is now. I want action. I don't want any more words. This is a time for change. It's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. And you know what they say, it's always worse before it gets better. I really don't want to go through this again another couple of years. The average student spends 187 days, more than one full school year, under the influence of a substitute teacher, K through 12 education. Every school here in Lee County, approximately 500 classrooms, are led by a substitute teacher. It's no question that we play a significant role in the education of our youth. Regardless, many administrators, staff report daily that they have difficulty finding qualified substitute teachers. as 10% of the teacher vacancies go unfilled every day. Our highest count was last week, 720 absences last Friday. How do we change this? How do we bring it back and get back to normalcy? When a guest teacher comes to your school, do everything in your power to ensure students and staff treat them with respect from the time they enter the door and help them feel welcome in your school. A friendly introduction, a warm smile can go a long way. Encourage other teachers, your permanent staff, to introduce themselves and volunteer to help them if they need support. Give them the proper resources. Provide the resources a guest teacher needs to be successful, to teach your students. Make sure teachers always leave detailed lessons when they are out. If a teacher's unable to leave a lesson plan, have a backup plan in action for that substitute who's there that day. Pay. There was a payroll schedule that occurred in March of 2018. All employees of the district except substitute teachers got a raise. That's the only group that did not receive a raise. And now, except for the guest teachers. But now we get the superintendent is requesting an increase in parachute. At present, guest teachers receive no benefits, no salary net, no essential minimum wage, no liability. If I need to get injured, hurt, shot on a job, I got to take care of myself. You don't have liability to cover the substitute teachers. Finally, the bottom line, it's clear that the guest teachers are extremely important to student success. Just because their regular teacher is gone doesn't mean the day should be wasted.
Thank you, Mr. Getz. Your time's up, sir.
We'd like to provide the same training subs that full-time teachers get.
Thank you. Larry Rubel.
That's a good point.
Madam Chair, distinguished board members, Superintendent Atkins, Mr. Martin, our student representative, good evening. My name's Larry Rubel. I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of the Teachers Association of Lee County. Standing with me is Lisa Dubrava, and we're both members of the TALC Executive Board. We're here tonight to read a resolution on the Coach Aaron Fye's Guardian Program regarding educators carrying guns. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Florida legislature is instituting a school guardian program aimed at arming certain school personnel despite the objections of educators across the state, whereas those legislatures are abdicating their responsibility as elected officials in the state of Florida, now therefore be it resolved that the Teachers Association of Lee County, on behalf of its members, shall not support legislation, policy, or procedure that would allow or require any teacher or school employee to bring weapons onto campus in this district. This was enacted on the 18th day of April 2018 by majority vote of the Teachers Association of Lee County, a representative assembly, and approved by the TALC Executive Board on Wednesday, April 4th, 2018. And I'll leave copies of this for your review. Thank you very much. Thank you, Susan.
Don Armstrong.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Don Armstrong. First, before I start off, I'd like to congratulate all our graduating students this school year. I attended a few of the graduations. There was excellent ceremonies, well put together, well thought out. So I wanted to give a big shout out to all the schools who put it on. Next thing I do want to discuss is something very serious. On May 8th, 2018, the board had a workshop about the IG and the investigation going on. They asked, and Dr. Atkins, you stated that you did use everything in your power to look for the documents that was not found. Well, thankful I'm pretty good at looking things up and finding stuff. I provided Ms. Johnson here with a copy for each one of you, because I do have a copy of this document that you couldn't find. I did. But there's a couple of things that I highlighted, one page in there. It talks about the $500,000, which was in one of the briefing meetings in March of 2017. The problem is there's also two other numbers that was not in that presentation. That disturbs me. $2 million and another one for $200,000. You guys come to the citizens of Lee County and ask for a half-cent sales tax increase. But no, you need to be good stewards of the money. And this shows right here that we're not looking for stuff in the right places at the right time. I knew where to look. I knew who to ask. Why couldn't you? Does it take a plumber to do that? A dad? Guess so. We talk about transparency. You want transparency? Doesn't seem like nobody's doing it, because I also know that IG has the same exact document I have. There's a fact for you. That's transparency. I took it upon myself this afternoon, no more than 5 minutes ago. I sent this out to the news because I think that the public needs to know what's in this. I also, for anybody else that would like to look at it, I put it on my own personal website because I believe in transparency. And each one of you have talked about it one time or another, but I'm not seeing it right now. I've even heard rumors that the Lee County School District are having meetings after the meeting. That's not transparency. People need to be held accountable. You tell the parents that we need to be held accountable. You still work for us. You need to be held accountable. Thank you.
Louis Navarro.
Good evening, Superintendent Atkins, board members. Lou Navarra, Lee County School Board teacher, 40-year resident. BA USF, education, FSU grad school, school administration. Well, let's get to work. You have a lot of confidence, Dr. Atkins, asking for this contract. You want a platinum parachute. Dr. Browder only had a golden one. You want a supermajority to fire you? What does a teacher get? Nothing but an annual contract, and if the teacher looks funny at an administrator, they make it non-renewed. There is no due process. Thank you, Governor Scott and the state legislature. You want 20 weeks of pay if fired? Why don't you give that to the underpaid teachers? You want a 10% annuity of your salary and sell back 12 unused vacation days? You don't need it. You have a retirement from FRS. We don't even know what salary you want up from your $185,000 that you get now. Do you think you are in the NFL? You must be thinking free agency. Let's freeze your pay and benefits in your next 1-year contract, then figure out how much money the increases you are asking, and give that money saved to school security for the protection of our children. Shame on you, school board, for trying to get this contract in place before the new board is in place. I heard you at the non-televised, no public input workshop last week. Lastly, I would like to say 2 board members have not kept their professionalism as witnessed at the last school board meeting. It reminded me of the Sarasota school board meeting when I thought the superintendent and the board member were going to duke it out.
Hold your comments, sir. I need to ask you to please comply with school board policy by constraining your remarks to matters relevant to the operation of the school district and not involving personal attacks on individuals. Your time has begun, sir. Please proceed.
One of you did not keep your campaign promises and now support a regressive sales tax. It's alleged your voter registered in Manatee County. You took an oath to us. One of you has shown rude behavior to a fellow board member that is unacceptable. We teach the children in schools not to bully each other. You both represent the community and should act as role models. In my opinion, this is food for thought. I'm requesting your resignations to restore transparency, honesty, and integrity that you keep preaching to the voting public at these meetings. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Jerry Ware.
Chair, members, and the superintendent. I come with ambiguous feelings. James Stevens, my pride and my joy. This morning, we graduated 96 kindergartens. I was so proud of them, but I also had tears in my eyes as I watched Mr. Savage hand them their diploma. When we talked last week, I knew he was leaving because we have that kind of a relationship. I said to him, I would have to be selfish not to want to see you go. You have sown good seeds, and it's your harvest time. So I want you to soar as high as you can. But I implore you once again, I'm advocating for James Stevens. I'm saying to you, please assist us in keeping Mrs. Stedman and the support staff that we need there. I do not want us to go back. 5 years ago, it was a struggle to make change take place. And you know you were successful because it came a B school. So let us keep James Stevens intact. Let us support Mrs. Stedman and that staff. And last but not least, I want to say to Mr. Savage, soar as high as you can go. I will always be an advocate for him, and I will always be an advocate for failing schools, which I am so proud of James Stevens. Thank you so much, and I ask that you really continue to support me as I advocate for James Stevens. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Jeff Romanoff.
Good evening. I am a father of a child that goes to Tropicales Elementary, and I'm here because I have concerns that the administration is not holding up their end of the deal at the school. I've been dealing with an issue with my child with continuous bullying. This has been brought to the administration's attention multiple times. Multiple times the administration seems to turn a blind eye to it, and as far as even goes as to make it feel like when we are there to discuss the issues, it's more of an interrogation of my child than trying to come to a consensus on how to handle the problem. The principal of the school has shown time and time again unprofessionalism when dealing with these issues, as far as even eating a sandwich and going in and out of meetings with a resource officer because we are possibly pursuing pressing charges against the child that was continuously bullying. Throughout this entire process, it has made it uncomfortable for myself, my son, and my wife, who is a vice president of the PTO there, to even go into the school. And something needs to be addressed with it, because I need to feel that when my child has issues, the administration is doing everything in their behalf to protect them and not find reasons as to why my son might be bullying. And the other thing is they won't even address the fact that it is bullying. Every time my son says he's being bullied, the administration tries to misdirect him and say, this isn't bullying, this is an issue we'll handle. They don't want to acknowledge the problems that are going on. So I feel like it is in the school's best interest that the school board look into the administration that is running the school, because as far as I can see, since the current administration's come in, the only successful thing they've done is take a school that was an A+ school for 17 years and drop it down to a D and bring it back up to a C. Thank you.
Stephanie Romanoff.
I actually emailed you last week, and I heard back from somebody underneath you about the Tropical Elementary situation. And I have other points other than what my husband brought in as being a volunteer and being vice president of the PTO. There was one instance where the principal of the school called me on my personal phone while I was at home, and I was sick and injured. And she wanted me to come in for a meeting because of something that I posted on my personal Facebook page that somebody that she knew, I don't know how, because it was private, screenshot it to her, sent it to her, and then she wanted me to come in for a meeting. And it wasn't anything. I didn't name a school. I didn't name anybody. It was a poll to see if how I felt about how my child being taken care of at the school was unjustified, or if I was justified in my feelings of not feeling that my son was safe. And so I wasn't able to come in, and then we went on a field trip at the end of the week, and she cornered me on a school bus ride on the way home in front of the students, all on the bus. So that was another issue. She told me at one point that my volunteering was not fair to other children whose parents can't or don't come in to volunteer their time, and basically made me feel as though I was not welcome to volunteer or welcome on campus, because I volunteer 2 to 3 days a week in various areas, either in teachers' classrooms or in the media center, helping children find books and what they're interested in. And then one time after a meeting that she was supposed to attend that she had another administrator do, after that was over and other parties were gone, she cornered me in the hallway, and she made up some stories about my niece that were completely not true, trying to get her in trouble at home, and literally almost got her in severe trouble at home because of the allegations that she made against my niece. And I asked her about it, and she told me that no, that's not what happened, and it was just really bad. And I really strongly feel that Tropical Elementary administration does need to be looked into, and that the parent concerns and PTO concerns and everything need to be taken very seriously. Thank you.
Stephanie Thomas.
Okay, I'm also a parent at Tropic Isles. I actually have a Parents of Tropic Isles Facebook page that the administration has threatened me over, but that's a whole nother issue that has been going on for a few years. The parents page is for parents to feel comfortable talking about what they need to come to a resolution. I have taken parents' concerns to the principal. The principal does not like that and has let me know, don't come to me with their concerns, have them come to me. I told her, all I'm looking for is what you should suggest for me to tell them, so they're not scared to come to you. That is a big problem there. Parents are scared to approach the principal. I understand why. I've called and requested meetings. Instead of having a meeting, she'll call me 5 o'clock at night. And I have been screamed at on the phone by her. And then the next day she tells me, no, she was yelling at me. I've dealt with her tried to be very professional. And I've been yelled at. My daughter will come home and tell me, you know the principal doesn't like you. I walk her to class and the principal will give me dirty looks. She'll smile to my face. As soon as I'm gone though, she turns and stares me down, which is fine. I will still be there for my child. Other parents have asked me to mention some things that the turnover rate of teachers. Yes, we've lost some very good teachers. Seems suspicious why we've lost so many every year. It's very upsetting. Bullying, my daughter has dealt with it. I approached the principal about it after the 3rd try with teachers and other staff members. 3 different times this happened, and the principal still says, it's not bullying, let's not put a label on it. Because she doesn't want to go through the bullying. I'm not sure why, honestly. She just doesn't want to label anything as bullying, no matter how many times or who it's happening to. My daughter is fine to protect herself and will try to talk down any student. Her teacher is actually here right now. She is fine with dealing with difficult students. But I don't want her to feel like she has to. She shouldn't have to be intimidated by any child because she knows the principal will not handle it. Not much that has been addressed has been handled. And I really feel like somebody needs to be handling something there. Thank you.
Donna Shepard.
As with the others, I too have a child at Tropic Isles Elementary. We have an ongoing issue with the bullying, which they have already brought up to you. I personally have called the school at least 3 or 4 times. I have met with the principal once. The other times, I was supposed to have a meeting with her. She did not show up. She sent the assistant principal in with the resource officer. I have called her multiple times. She does not return my calls. She has somebody else usually do it, which is usually the resource officer. The last time, on April the 11th, was the last time that I requested and the meeting. This child has been bullying my adopted daughter, who is my granddaughter, which I'm sure you guys know this is a big thing too in the county. And he is, I for the life of me can't figure out why it's not being dealt with. They went on a field trip. He was sitting in front of her on the bus. She got on first with her friend, and this child is supposed to be under adult supervision at all times. The teacher got up and left him in the seat by himself, sitting in front of my child, and he turned around and started bullying her. When I brought this to the attention of the resource officer, he pretty much said that my child was lying. That was the insinuation that he made at the time. I take offense to that. Bullying is not something that any child in any school should ever have to deal with. And it's just too far out of hand. The administration at Tropic Isles is not doing a darn thing to rectify this situation. Number one, I don't understand how the child ended up on the school bus on that field trip, because he just came back from being suspended. My understanding is any child that's been suspended cannot go on field trips. And I'm just really aggravated with this whole situation. I am tired of having to deal with this. It's not something that any of us should have to continually have to deal with. And here we are having to come to you for help because we're not getting it from the school. And I find this very appalling at this time and age when there is so much about bullying in the media and what is happening with our kids who are not being taken serious. I would like to ask you to please take into consideration everything that we have asked of you, because this is a very serious issue. Thank you for your time.
Deborah Graves.
Good evening. Deborah Graves. I've been a teacher in Lee County for 15 years, completing my 15th year, and I'm a K-2 teacher. I'm also a TALC member and a union rep. I want to applaud my TALC union for addressing the guardian issue and strongly urge you, please, to not have teachers and other staff armed. I will tell you, after the shooting in Florida, I was accustomed to our SRO officer who was there periodically. And then we suddenly had another officer with a gun everywhere, in the cafeteria, other places. And every time I saw him, I went into fear mode, looking for a shooter. Even though I knew that the board was addressing our concerns about safety, I still felt afraid. And my students felt afraid. So it's taken some desensitization to realize, yes, this person is beneficial for us, but it always reminds me of shooting and how it's hard to feel safe in the workplace. And then I'm glad that the police officer is there. At our school, he is not a student resource officer, and I know we put people into positions right away to have the schools covered, but I would strongly urge that any police officer who's in the schools to have SRO training, so that can be more of a positive presence as opposed to a safety presence on campus, and work with students with peer mediation, build relationships. And then my final comment is on the half-cent tax increase, and I am dancing here, celebrating the board's decision to put that on the ballot. I have family in Pasco County that has already renewed that tax, and it's been very beneficial to the school system. And when you have a legislature that wants to give us 47 cents more for the next school year per child, we really need to bring in additional revenues, and I think this is an ideal way to have our visitors as well as our residents pay. So thank you very much.
Susan Beatty.
Thank you, Superintendent and board members, for allowing me this opportunity to speak. This is my first time speaking at a board meeting, but I could no longer sit back and remain silent. As my grandchildren are nearing the age to start school, I'm very concerned with the lack of safety measures you have in place in our schools. All three of my children attended Lee County Public Schools, as did myself and my parents. There have been no obvious changes made in keeping up with the rise of needed security in all Lee County schools in this district. They're not consistent across the district. They vary from school to school. In fact, I would include that the discipline and drug problems are more out of control than ever. How are students, parents, and grandparents supposed to feel when our schools are not secured? It's time to take proactive measures for our kids and the staff. I'm very disappointed that you're now misleading the public to believe that the half-penny sales tax will go to safety. When this first came unveiled in the campaign originally, it was for the building of new schools. Now on the website it says safety, which is great, but it's also very misleading because which is it? Recently, Collier County made the call to lock their doors at their school. Why hasn't this been done across the district in Lee County? I understand we have a safety director making plans for each school, but locking the doors is a free preventative step that should be in place. We need major security updates this summer. There's no need to wait. We need fenced campuses, metal detectors, cameras, buzzard entrances, and limited entrances. And I understand this is a financial cost of implementing these measures. Are you willing to put a price tag on the lives of our children and staff? Considering that a high school was recently built without having appropriate funds to do so, this really shouldn't be a problem. Also, discipline issues are at an all-time high in Lee County. You must do everything in your power to protect our kids. We have a huge drug problem in the schools, and rules and policies are not being followed or enforced, and you don't even have room at the Success Academy to hold more kids, so there's nowhere for them to go. At one point, a board member here made a statement about our high schools being as safe as they're going to get. That's ignorant and very disheartening and discouraging to hear. Teachers are burdened enough with just the task of teaching our students in this day and age. They do not need to have added concern or fear of how to survive and protect our students as well. I hope you will think long and hard about your duty and your role to protect and serve the kids you're elected to serve here. And I ask you this, do you lock your cars when you get out of it? Is your car in the parking lot locked right now? Do you lock your house at night when you go to bed? We need to lock our schools up.
Jason Orlana. Jason Orlana.
Board members of Lee County, Superintendent Atkins, and fellow community members. My name is Jason Oriana. I'm the Chief of Staff over at Florida Gulf Coast University Student Government. We just started our new term, so you'll be seeing a lot of me this next academic year. For starters, my goal this year is I want to increase our community outreach between Lee County schools and our university. I've begun a brief partnership with Estero High School, and I hope to grow that partnership within the next year so that we can work together to increase our students' leadership abilities. Secondly, I wanted to advise you all that I will be attending your school board meetings at least once a month to give you an update of what's happening at Florida Gulf Coast and how it's impacting your students here in Lee County. And lastly, I did want to address the recent school shooting in Santa Fe High School in Texas. These tragedies have gone on too long and too far, and you know, enough is enough, and we all agree on that. That's something we all agree on. But the safety and security of our students is extremely vital so that you can actually carry out the district's mission. In order for each student to reach his or her highest potential, they must first feel safe and secure in the very environment in which they are acquiring their education. We, the student government at FGCU, will be working closely with our university police to see how we can further our student safety, and I encourage you to continue doing the same. When I walked the halls of Estero High School, it made me smile. These children are quite remarkable. A lot of them are making big changes, and one day they will be making a big difference in this world. But you know, we must set the example of what a working partnership is. We need to enrich these kids with not only knowledge, but with hope and determination. This must be a community effort, and this must be a partnership between the community and the school board together. In the words of Henry Ford, coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. You'll be amazed at what we can accomplish together. Thank you.
Ramey Hall.
Dr. Adkins, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I understand that we have a new safety director here, and I think that's good, but with 120 schools, I have to ask, is that too much for one person to handle? Have you looked into breaking down our schools into elementary, middle, and high school and putting zone leaders over those departments and having them report to the safety director? Safety is the #1 issue. Parents and kids, it's on our mind 24/7. After the Parkland shooting, many kids across our community had to get up the next morning and go sit for an AP exam after they had been up watching all of that all night long. I know my daughter barely slept that night. Right now, 120 schools in Lee County are locked. If I walked up and tried to get in, if we left something inside, I would not be able to. They're locked. But 5 hours earlier, many of those schools were not locked. I could have walked right in, whether I had a student there or not. I'm going to ask this board tonight to lock our schools. It is something that is free. It can be done easily. Collier County did it over the weekend. We need our schools locked. Recently, I started following the Lee County Sheriff's Office Facebook page, and I noticed something. Took me a while. I'm not on Facebook that much, but I noticed night after night around 9 o'clock, he would say, lock up round or lock up call or something cute. He would, not cute, but a warning the sheriff's office would give to go lock your cars and lock your house. And if that's something our sheriff office sees as a priority, I think you guys need to see locking the schools during the day when children are sitting in them as a priority. I think that would take a burden off your staff, off teachers. I would really like to see the safety burden off of assistant principals and principals. It is too much for them. I think we need safety protocols. That's something that looking into this a zone section for safety in our district, I think could take the burden off. I think elementary, middle, and high schools need different safety protocols. So I think that's a lot for one guy to handle 120. Next year, I want to see buzzer entrances on every schools in addition to being locked, fenced campuses, metal detectors, limited entrances. You got 10 weeks over the summer to do a lot. I implore you guys to make these proactive changes to help us feel safe. I hope you listen to people in the public when they come and speak. I'm giving up a night with my children. I'm missing dinner with my family to come here and speak because I think this is important. And a lot of times I think the public feels dismissed when they come here. We're not here to be a burden or to, start things. We're here because these are issues we care about. These are issues the community is speaking about. What I just heard about this situation at this elementary school, I would ask you guys, what is the accountability process for principals in this school? That needs to be looked at. I don't know if there needs to be something anonymous where parents can come in and talk, where they don't feel.
Those are all the cards, Ms. Morgan.
Mr. Riegel.
Good evening, school board, Dr. Adkins, Mr. Martin, Ms. Johnson, hello. It was about 8 months ago that I came up here and congratulated the school district for a job well done regarding all of the hurricane procedures and how we allowed everybody into our facilities and what our administrators did. And I meant that, and that was a terrific and wonderful job. So I come again after about 8 months. I'm sorry for my voice. My voice is a little rapsy here. I have to come forward, and I emailed many of you the reason why. We did a motion about Alberto Rodriguez 2 weeks ago, and I gave proof in public records requests 1 through 19 that information was withheld to Alberto Rodriguez before, and after he went for state investigations. There's also lots of other proof of wrongdoing, and I emailed it all to you. Now, first of all, I don't want anybody to jump all over Chris Patrica because, first of all, she may not have even had or seen the information that I presented. That is completely possible, and she can address that. Number two, as you look at the information that I presented, you will see that I discuss what the communications department did. And I sent that to you, Ms. Morgan, Mr. Martin, Mr. Dodig, and Mr. Adkins most or all of the way. And again, I do not know for a fact that you saw the other half. I have no idea, maybe you did not. That is a huge, distinct possibility. And I don't like to jump to conclusions. And so I would want, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would be out here defending you, Ms. Patrica, the same way. And I want you to know that because I would be doing this just for you as well. So when I put that information forward, I'd like you to take a look at it. And I really want you to study it because we did a disservice that's going to end up biting us if this disgruntled employee, as he was called, ends up with a lawsuit or he gets a hold of the information I put forward. And again, you can look at public records requests 1 through 19 and all the communications. The problem I have is with what the department did, I left notes and messages connecting the wrongdoing, and I numbered and I labeled them, and it disappeared. And things were combined. And you really need to take a look at it. My door is always open. You know, you can contact me. We can have a discussion. We can look at it. But I think you would like to know. And again, I don't know what you know, which is why I'm bringing it forward respectfully, honestly. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank all of you who came to speak tonight. Mr. Getz and Linda Carter. We recognize, I'm looking for, there you are, recognize how important the guest teachers are. We have this conversation often. I think we all heard your concern, Ms. Carter, about being included in the training for school safety, and I will allow Dr. Adkins to address that when he has the opportunity. I want to thank Mr. Rubel and Deborah Graves for sharing their concerns about the Guardian program and school safety and security. Mr. Romanoff, Mrs. Romanoff, Ms. Thomas, Ms. Shepard, We've all heard your comments about Tropic Isles, so I'm going to ask Dr. Atkins to respond to that tonight or to make arrangements for staff to respond to that at another time. Susan Gagan and Ramey Hall, we had a long briefing this afternoon about the safety and security work that's being done by our Director of Security, some of the requirements of the law, what we've been able to do thus far, what the plan is for the summer, how we will be opening up, how we will have a plan in place to open up schools. I encourage you to look at that briefing. And I can assure you, I think everybody on this board felt very confident that Mr. Parfit and district staff have a plan with a timeline that will meet everybody's expectations with respect to the school year next year. Let's see, Mr. Oriano. So, very good. Thank you for partnering with Estero High School. Are you aware that we signed, the school board or the school district signed a memorandum of understanding with the Estero Village that is intended to benefit both our students and the citizens in terms of building a relationship that supports the kids and provides an opportunity for adults to be in the schools or involved with our kids. So, great work. Keep it up. And I think, yeah, those are my, I apologize if I missed anybody. I was trying to keep track of notes as we went. Dr. Atkins, is there anything you wish to speak to?
Well, just a couple items. First of all, just responding to Mr. Armstrong, happy that he turned in an email. We'll be happy to take a look at it. I still am confident in what we did. Our whole purpose for the March briefing was to be transparent, and that continues to be the case. I also am confident that what actions we took to try to uncover an email should have been more than sufficient, but I'm happy he sent it to the IG, and we're happy to respond. Tropic Isles, that's one that we'll have Dr. Creel take a look at. We do take those very seriously, and we'll be happy to respond.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is approval of action. Mr. Martin, do you have something to say? No, okay. Next is approval of action items in the agenda under consent. The documentation for action items under consent is made available to board members 7 days prior to the board meeting. We board members are expected to review all the material, and we have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions that we have regarding the recommendations. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda? Ms. Fisher.
I have no pulls this evening.
Ms. Patrica.
No, thank you.
Mr. Teuber.
I have none, ma'am.
Mrs.
None for me.
And none for me. Okay.
And none for me.
Oh, thank you, Pam. I'm so sorry. Gotcha.
That's okay.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Patrica.
Support.
Who was that?
Fisher.
Ms. Fisher.
Ms. Fisher.
Oh, Ms. Fisher. Thank you.
I mean to point.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, Dr. Adkins, would you please address any administrators in attendance with a new assignment that was approved under the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have one person in attendance. It's with great pleasure I'd like to introduce Jessica Duncan, who's an assistant principal at North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts, just got appointed Director, Exceptional Student Education.
Congratulations. Next are superintendent recommendations. Dr. Atkins, would you please read your first recommendation?
Yes, first recommendation, I recommend board ratification of the agreement with Bonita Springs Utilities to convey 2.84 acres of Bonita Springs High School property in satisfaction of the cost of utility infrastructure brought to the school site. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all necessary documents.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Patrica, seconded by Dr. Kuckel. Any discussion? Ms. Patrica.
I just want to say that I appreciate the efforts of Mr. Mora on this and your team, because we were able to get utility hookups without having to pay for them. In exchange, we gave land that is of absolutely no use to us, but it is useful to BSU, and Bonita Springs Utility is famous for being not the easiest agency to work with. So I'm impressed by your ability to work with them, and I think that it's a good indication of how well our staff is doing and this board is doing with working with other agencies. What happened at Estero, Bonita is chomping at the bit to enter into an agreement with us, the work that you've done with the Bonita Springs Utilities. I just wanted to acknowledge good work, very good work. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0.
Next recommendation, I recommend board approval to award the ITN for cabinet services, including fabrication, installation services to Ward and Waters, Inc., as indicated on the attached tabulation sheet. The ITN will be effective for the period of May 22nd, 2018 through May 21st, 2021, at an estimated expenditure of $2 million for the first year, with renewal options for 3 additional one-year periods. Upon the written agreement of the vendor and the district, approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Teuber, seconded by Ms. Fisher. Any discussion? Mr. Teuber.
This is a $2 million approval that really addresses only 3 schools that, again, would not be serviced if we were to work on impact fees, because, there is there's no growth applied to Fort Myers Middle, Gulf Elementary, or even Alva at this time. So this is a type of capital expenditures that we currently need to pay, that we don't have the money to pay, but to actually continue to keep our existing facilities and our taxpayer buildings that we own as taxpayers in conditions that are serviceable for our schools. So I'll be supporting this motion, but this is the type of thing that the public needs to be aware that this is just 3 schools that are being addressed today out of the 120 that we currently have.
Thank you, Mr. Teuber. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Next recommendation, I recommend.
Ham? Ms. Revere?
Sorry.
Okay. Motion carries 6-0.
Next recommendation, I recommend board approval of the estimated expenditure in the amount of $700,000 for the bid for USDA commodity processed cheese awarded to Land O'Lakes, Inc. for the period of June 27, 2018 through June 26, 2019, pursuant to the same terms and conditions as previously approved by the board. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher and seconded by Dr. Kuckel. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0.
Next recommendation, I recommend board approval of the one-time increase of $1,900,000 for the RFP for gutter, fascia, soffit, and roof repair and replacement for the total estimated annual expenditure not to exceed $2,500,000. The contract was awarded to Advanced Roofing and Sheet Metal, Atlas Apex Roofing, CFS Roofing, Inc., and Crowther Roofing and Sheet Metal of Florida for the period of May 22, 2018 through November 8, 2018, pursuant to the same terms and conditions as previously approved by the board. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Teuber, seconded by Dr. Kuckel. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries 6-0.
Next recommendation, I recommend board approval to piggyback Collier County Schools bid number 16010 for classroom supplies and equipment discounts for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 at an estimated expenditure of $600,000. With an option to cancel if deemed to be in the best interest of the district. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher, Seconded by Dr. Kuckel. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0.
Next recommendation, I recommend board approval to piggyback Collier County School District bid number 74-1/14 for AC parts and equipment and supplies awarded to Johnstone Supply, Naples Armature Works, Tropic Supply, Inc., and United Refrigeration, Inc. for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 at an estimated expenditure of $900,000 with the option to cancel if deemed to be in the best interest of the district. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all documents.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Teuber, seconded by Ms. Fisher. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries 6-0.
Next recommendation, I recommend board approval to renew the bid for the purchase of fresh milk and other dairy products for the final renewal period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 at an estimated expenditure of $4 million pursuant to the same terms and conditions as previously approved by the board. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Fisher. Second by Dr. Kuckel. All those in, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Next up is our board member comments, reports. Ms. Fisher.
Okay, I'm just going to say thank you to Caitlin for joining us this evening. I'm always excited when we have our student representatives with us, and they all did such a great job this year. I also want to send out another congratulations to all of our graduating seniors and thank our hardworking staff for all they do every day to make this district run as well as it does, considering its size. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Patrica. Mr. Teuber.
I have none.
Dr. Kuckel has none. Caitlin, would you like to make some, oh, I'm sorry, Pam? Mrs. LaRiviere.
I have none.
Thank you. Caitlin.
Like about this, about the whole thing.
You can talk about whatever you like. We just want to hear from you.
I don't think they're still here, but like, you know how like the people were talking about like they want to like the substitute were talking about how they want extra money, but, like, and then they were talking about they wanted money for security. How are you going to pay them extra money and pay for that with the amount of money and the amount of schools that we have?
And there's our dilemma, stated by our student. Thank you. You're absolutely right. We have a problem. So we would like to pay our teachers more. We would like to pay our guest teachers more. We need to provide safe and secure learning environments for our students and our staff. And we're working very hard on it. Dr. Atkins has got people who are putting together plans to address those concerns. So thank you. Anything else you'd like to say? No? Okay. I just would like to mention that I too attended graduations, as did everybody else, and loved the graduations, and I am wearing, at Dr. Ruthie Lohmeyer's request, the shawl for the students at Buckingham Exceptional. So, Ruthie, here we are. Okay, and Mr. Martin, do you have any comments?
None this evening, thank you.
Dr. Atkins.
Just real quick, I neglected to mention safety and security, the question that came up. One of the comments was about locked doors. And I would say that the vast majority of our schools already have that procedure in place right now. Often if you go tour these buildings, you're going to find not only the front doors locked, but also every individual classroom is locked. We do still have some challenges when it comes to some of our larger, in particular older campuses, and Mr. Parfit and his team continues to address those challenges with a threat assessment team, and I feel confident, you know, by the start of school next year that we'll be way down the pathway of really hardening many of those buildings. Although we had already put many single point entries, as an example, in place, or these locked doors in place. That had already been standard procedure in most of our buildings prior to this even occurring.
Thank you very much for that clarification and explanation. Next scheduled meetings of the board, Tuesday, June 5th, there is a briefing meeting at 2 o'clock, as well as a school board action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, having no other business to come before this body, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Teuber.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Fisher. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. That's fine.